The warning alarms screamed through the cockpit of Ben Torres's fighter ship. Red lights flashed across the control panel as smoke filled the small cabin. His ship spun wildly through space, completely out of control. "Come on, not today," Ben said through gritted teeth. He pulled hard on the steering controls, trying to steady the damaged vessel. The left engine was gone, destroyed by enemy fire during the battle above Sector 7. His right engine sputtered and died just as the planet Velos Prime appeared before him. Ben had been flying reconnaissance missions for the Galactic Federation for 2 years. The war against the Keth Empire seemed endless. Every day brought new battles, new losses, new worlds under attack. Today was supposed to be a simple scouting run. Check the outer rim, look for enemy ships, return to base. Nothing dangerous. The Keth patrol had appeared from nowhere. 5 black ships against his single fighter. Ben managed to destroy 2 of them before taking critical damage. Now he was falling toward an unknown planet with no way to call for help. The ship shook violently as it hit the atmosphere. Ben strapped himself in tight and prepared for impact. The green canopy of jungle rushed up to meet him. Trees snapped and broke as his fighter plowed through them. Metal scraped against stone. Then everything went dark. Ben woke up hours later with blood on his forehead and pain in his ribs. His ship was a twisted wreck, half buried in thick jungle undergrowth. The communication system was dead. The emergency beacon was damaged beyond repair. No one knew where he was. He gathered what supplies he could find. A small medkit, some food rations, his sidearm, and a portable scanner. The jungle around him was alien but beautiful. Strange purple flowers hung from massive trees. The air smelled sweet and clean. Bird-like creatures with 4 wings sang haunting melodies from the canopy above. Ben walked for 3 hours before his scanner detected something unusual. Metal structures lay hidden beneath the dense vegetation. As he pushed through hanging vines, an incredible sight appeared before him. A palace made entirely of crystal rose from the jungle floor. The walls seemed to glow with soft blue light. Delicate spires reached toward the sky like frozen music. Ben had never seen anything so beautiful in his entire life. The architecture was clearly alien, but somehow peaceful and welcoming. He approached the main entrance carefully. The doors were already open. Inside, the crystal walls cast rainbow patterns of light across polished floors. Everything was quiet except for the soft hum of unknown technology. "Hello?" Ben called out. His voice echoed through empty corridors. "Is anyone here?" He explored room after room, each more magnificent than the last. The palace seemed abandoned, but the lights still worked and the air felt fresh. Someone had been here recently. Ben found her in the central chamber, lying on a raised platform surrounded by floating crystals. She was unlike any being he had ever encountered. Her skin was a soft blue color that seemed to shimmer with inner light. Long silver hair spread across her shoulders. She wore robes that looked like they were woven from starlight itself. But she was clearly dying. The woman's breathing came in short, painful gasps. Dark veins spread across her arms and neck like poison racing through her body. Her silver eyes were clouded with pain, but they focused on Ben as he approached. "You are human," she said in accented but clear English. Her voice was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Yes," Ben replied, kneeling beside the platform. "My name is Ben Torres. I'm a pilot with the Galactic Federation. My ship crashed in your jungle." "I am Zara," she said. "Queen of the Vellani people." Ben looked around the empty palace. "Where is everyone else? Where are your people?" Zara closed her eyes for a moment, fighting against waves of pain. "Dead or captured. The Keth came 3 days ago. They took my mate and my children. They took everyone they could find. The Keth Empire." Ben felt anger rise in his chest. He had seen what they did to peaceful worlds. They conquered without mercy, enslaved entire populations, destroyed cultures that had existed for thousands of years. What did they want? Ben asked. The location of our sacred crystal caves, Zara replied. For generations, my people have guarded these crystals. They power defensive shields that protect hundreds of worlds in this sector. Without them, millions of innocent beings will die. And you refuse to tell them. I had no choice. Zara opened her eyes and looked directly at Ben. My people are pacifists. We have never harmed another living creature. We exist only to heal and protect others. How could I give them weapons to destroy the very worlds we have sworn to defend? Ben understood. The Villani were one of the few species in the galaxy that had never engaged in warfare. Their crystal technology was used purely for defense, creating energy shields that could protect entire planets from attack. If the Keth gained control of those crystals, they could destroy the shields and conquer dozens of worlds in a matter of weeks. So they poisoned you, Ben said, noticing the dark veins that continued to spread across her skin. Keth torture poison, Zara confirmed. It causes great pain before death. They thought I would give them what they wanted to save myself and my family. But I cannot sacrifice millions to save a few, even those I love most. Ben examined the poison's progress. He had seen it before, during his military training. The Keth used it on prisoners to extract information. Most beings lasted only a few hours before the pain became unbearable. This woman had endured it for 3 days. How are you still alive? He asked. Villani physiology is different from most species, Zara explained. We can endure great physical trauma. But the poison will kill me within hours now. I can feel my strength fading. There must be something I can do. Some way to help you. Zara smiled sadly. You are kind, human Ben Torres. But my people's biology is unique. We can heal any injury, cure any disease, reverse any poison. But we cannot heal ourselves. What do you mean? Our healing ability requires life energy from another being. The process demands willing sacrifice. One being must give their life force to save another. She paused, studying Ben's face. The healing process would drain all life energy from the giver. They would die instantly, but the one being healed would live. Ben felt his heart skip. You're saying someone else could save you, but they would die in the process. Yes. That is why I will die here alone. I cannot ask anyone to make such a sacrifice. And even if someone offered, I would refuse. No life is worth more than another. Ben stood up and walked around the chamber, thinking hard. Outside, he could hear the distant sound of engines. The Keth were coming back. They probably detected his crashed ship and were coming to investigate. How long do you have? He asked. Perhaps 1 hour, no more. Zara's voice was getting weaker. The poison has nearly reached my heart. And this healing process, how does it work? Physical contact with the crown crystals while focusing life energy through touch. But please, do not consider this path. You have your own life to live. Ben looked at the crystalline crown resting near Zara's head. It was beautiful, made of the same glowing blue crystal as the palace walls. He could feel energy humming from it even at a distance. The engine sounds were getting closer. Ben counted at least 3 ships, probably Keth patrol vessels coming to finish what they started. They would find the queen dead and search the palace for clues about the crystal caves. Even if they found nothing, they could destroy the palace out of spite. But there was more to consider. If Queen Zara died, who would protect the knowledge of the crystal caves? Her mate and children were prisoners. Her people were scattered or dead. The location of the defensive crystals would die with her, and the Keth would eventually find them through other means. Hundreds of worlds would fall without those shields. Tell me about your people, Ben said, still pacing. What are the Villani really like? Despite her pain, Zara's face brightened. We are healers and guardians. For 3,000 years, we have used our gifts to help others. We built hospitals on dying worlds, created medicines for incurable diseases, taught other species to live in harmony with nature. And you never fought back, even when attacked. Never. Violence goes against our very nature. We believe that all life is sacred, that every being has value. Even the Keth who poisoned me. I do not hate them, though I grieve for what they have become. Ben stopped pacing and looked at her. You would really die to protect worlds full of people you've never met. Without hesitation. And if someone saved you, what would you do? Lead my people back from exile. Restore the crystal shields. Continue our work of healing and protection. Zara's eyes met his. But I will not ask for such a sacrifice. I will not take another's life to preserve my own. The engine sounds were very close now. Ben could hear Keth voices outside the palace, harsh and guttural. They were moving through the jungle, searching for his crash site. It would not take them long to find the palace. Ben made his decision. You're not asking, he said, walking back to the platform. I'm offering. No. Zara tried to sit up, but the poison had weakened her too much. You do not understand what you are saying. I understand perfectly. Ben knelt beside her and placed his hands near the crown. I'm a soldier. I took an oath to protect innocent life. You represent the protection of millions of innocent lives. But you will die. Maybe. Maybe not. I've beaten worse odds before. Ben smiled at her, trying to appear more confident than he felt. Besides, someone once told me that no life is worth more than another. If my death saves you, and you save millions of others, then the math works out pretty well. This is not a game, human. This is not about mathematics. You're right. It's about doing what's right. Ben could hear the Keth soldiers getting closer. Their voices echoed through the crystal corridors. Tell me what I need to do. Zara looked into his eyes for a long moment. She saw determination there, and courage, and something else. Compassion. True, selfless compassion for beings he had never met and never would meet. Place your hands on the crown crystals, she said quietly. Focus your life energy through your touch. Think about healing, about giving strength to another. The crystals will do the rest. Ben positioned his hands on the warm crystal surface. Immediately, he felt energy flowing through his fingers. It was like touching sunlight, warm and bright and alive. Now think about your life force, Zara instructed. Imagine it flowing from you into the crystals, then into me. Give freely, without reservation. Ben closed his eyes and concentrated. He thought about all the life inside him. His heartbeat, his breathing, the electrical impulses in his brain. He imagined all of it flowing out through his hands into the glowing crystals. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Golden light poured from Ben's hands into the crown, then flowed like liquid fire into Zara's body. He felt his strength draining away, his life force being pulled from him in a steady stream. But something else was happening too. Ben's memories flowed with his life energy. Zara saw his childhood on Earth, his training as a pilot, his first combat mission. She experienced his fears, his hopes, his absolute determination to protect others no matter the cost. And Ben saw her memories in return. A peaceful world of crystal cities and healing gardens. A people dedicated to preserving life in all its forms. Children learning to use their gifts to help others. A culture built entirely on compassion and service. The Keth soldiers burst into the chamber just as the healing reached its peak. They stopped in shock at the sight before them. A human pilot was glowing with golden light, his life force pouring into their dying prisoner. The queen's body was absorbing the energy, the poison being burned away by pure life force. But something was going wrong with the process. Instead of simply transferring energy from one being to another, the healing was creating something new. Ben's human determination and fierce protective instincts were combining with Zara's Villani compassion and healing abilities. The energy flow became stronger, more focused. The golden light grew brighter and brighter until the entire chamber was filled with radiance. The Keth soldiers raised their weapons but could not see clearly enough to aim. The healing process was reaching its climax, and neither Ben nor Zara knew what would happen next. The golden light filled every corner of the crystal chamber. Ben felt his life force flowing out of him like water from a broken dam. His vision blurred and his knees shook, but he held on to the crown crystals with determination that surprised even himself. Queen Zara's body absorbed the healing energy with incredible speed. The dark poison veins across her skin began to fade as golden light chased them away. Her breathing became stronger and more steady. Color returned to her silver eyes. But something was happening that had never occurred in Villani history before. The healing process was not simply transferring Ben's life force to Zara. Instead, his human will to protect others was somehow amplifying and changing the entire ritual. The Keth soldiers in the doorway raised their energy weapons, but the brilliant light made it impossible for them to see their targets clearly. Their leader, a massive creature with gray skin and red eyes, shouted orders in his harsh language. "Capture the human alive," he commanded. "Kill the queen if necessary, but we need information about the crystals." Ben heard the voices but could not respond. All of his concentration was focused on the healing ritual. He could feel his strength draining away, but he also sensed that something remarkable was happening. The energy flowing between him and Zara was creating a permanent connection, a bond that would change both of them forever. Zara's eyes snapped open, now blazing with golden light. She sat up on the platform with renewed strength flowing through her entire body. The poison was completely gone, burned away by the incredible healing energy. But more than that, she could feel new abilities awakening within her. "The healing is complete," she said, her voice now carrying a note of power it had never possessed before. "But you are still alive, Ben Torres." Ben collapsed beside the platform, weak but breathing. The healing process had drained most of his energy, but somehow had not killed him. His human stubbornness and refusal to give up had allowed him to survive what should have been a fatal sacrifice. "How is this possible?" Zara asked, helping Ben to his feet. "Maybe," Ben said with a weak smile, "humans are just too stubborn to die when we have a job to finish." The Keth leader stepped forward, his weapon aimed at both of them. "Enough talk. Tell us the location of the crystal caves or we will torture your human friend slowly." Zara looked at the Keth soldiers, then at Ben, then back at the soldiers. For 3,000 years, her people had never raised a hand in violence against another being. They had endured attacks, slavery, and genocide rather than fight back. But something had changed within her during the healing ritual. She had experienced Ben's memories of protecting others, his willingness to fight and die for people he had never met. She had felt his fierce determination to stand between innocent beings and those who would harm them. These human emotions had combined with her own Villani compassion to create something entirely new. "No," Zara said simply. "Then you will both die," the Keth leader replied. "I think not," Zara said. She placed her hand on Ben's shoulder, and healing energy flowed into him. His strength returned instantly, along with something more. The bond created between them now allowed her to share her enhanced abilities with him. Ben felt power coursing through his body. Not just physical strength, but something deeper. He could sense Zara's thoughts and emotions, and she could sense his. They were connected in a way that neither of them fully understood. The Keth soldiers opened fire with their energy weapons. But instead of striking their targets, the energy beams hit an invisible barrier that surrounded Ben and Zara. The Queen had instinctively created a protective shield using her enhanced crystal abilities. "My people have always used our gifts only for healing and protection," Zara said, her voice now carrying the authority of a true queen. "But you have forced us to evolve." She raised her hand toward the largest crystal in the chamber ceiling. It began to glow with intense blue light, responding to her mental commands. Energy coursed through the crystal matrix of the entire palace, charging systems that had been dormant for centuries. The Keth soldiers found themselves surrounded by crystal formations that rose from the floor around them. The formations did not harm them, but trapped them in place like a crystal prison. "I will not kill you," Zara continued. "That is not our way. But I will no longer allow you to harm innocent beings." Ben watched in amazement as the Queen demonstrated powers that went far beyond normal Villani abilities. The healing ritual had not just saved her life, it had evolved her into something new. A protector who combined Villani compassion with human determination to defend others. "The other Keth ships," Ben said. "There are more soldiers coming." "Then we will face them together," Zara replied. She touched a crystal panel on the wall, and the palace's defensive systems came online. Energy shields surrounded the entire structure while communication arrays reached out to contact surviving Villani across the galaxy. Through the enhanced bond between them, Ben could sense Zara's thoughts as she contacted her scattered people. Many had survived the Keth attacks by hiding in remote locations. Others had been taken prisoner but were still alive. All of them felt the change in their queen, the new strength flowing through the connection all Villani shared with their monarch. "What are you telling them?" Ben asked. "The truth," Zara replied. "That a human showed us what true courage means. That sometimes, protecting the innocent requires more than passive resistance. That we can defend others without becoming monsters ourselves." The response from her people was immediate and overwhelming. Across dozens of worlds, Villani began emerging from hiding places. Those who had been enslaved started using their abilities to heal their captors' victims while simultaneously disabling their weapons and ships. It was the first coordinated action the Villani had ever taken that was not purely defensive. Outside the palace, the remaining Keth ships detected the energy surge and moved in to attack. But they found themselves facing something they had never encountered before, Villani crystal technology being used actively rather than passively. Zara stood at the main viewing window, her hands placed on the control crystals. Through her enhanced abilities, she could direct every defensive system in the palace. Energy shields deflected the Keth weapons while crystal-powered beams disabled their ships without destroying them. "You are not killing them," Ben observed. "No. Even now, I cannot bring myself to take life. But I can prevent them from taking the lives of others." The Keth ships crashed in the jungle around the palace, their crews trapped but unharmed. Within minutes, the immediate threat was over. But this was just the beginning. Through the palace's long-range communication system, Ben and Zara could monitor Keth activity across the sector. News of the Queen's survival and enhanced abilities was spreading rapidly. Keth commanders were panicking as their prisoner camps were peacefully liberated and their weapons mysteriously disabled. "They do not understand what is happening," Zara said, interpreting the intercepted communications. "They have never faced an enemy that fights without hatred or desire for conquest." Ben smiled. "Welcome to fighting alongside humans. We do not conquer for glory or wealth. We fight to protect others, even those who cannot protect themselves." Over the following days, Ben and Zara worked together to coordinate the Villani resistance. The Queen's enhanced abilities allowed her to heal others without the traditional requirement of life force sacrifice. She could now share strength rather than transfer it completely. And through her bond with Ben, she could channel human determination and tactical thinking alongside Villani compassion. The effect on the war was dramatic and immediate. Keth forces found themselves unable to maintain their conquests as Villani healers appeared on every occupied world. The healers would restore health to enslaved populations while simultaneously using their crystal technology to disable Keth weapons and communication systems. But the Villani approach to warfare was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They would disable enemy ships, then board them to heal injured Keth soldiers and offer food to hungry ones. They treated their enemies with the same compassion they showed their friends. Many Keth soldiers, encountering genuine kindness for the first time in their lives, simply laid down their weapons. Others continued fighting, but found their equipment mysteriously malfunctioning at crucial moments. The Villani had learned to disrupt technology without destroying it, leaving their enemies stranded but alive. Ben served as the military advisor and strategic coordinator for this new form of warfare. His knowledge of Keth tactics, combined with Zara's enhanced abilities and connection to her people, created an unstoppable combination. The Villani could appear anywhere, help anyone, and disappear before conventional forces could respond. Within 3 months, the Keth Empire began to collapse. Not from military defeat, but from mass desertion as their soldiers encountered beings who fought without hatred and offered healing instead of vengeance. The turning point came when Ben and Zara led a rescue mission to free the Queen's captured family. The Keth prison ship was heavily defended, but the combined force of human tactical skill and enhanced Villani abilities proved overwhelming. They found Zara's mate and children in holding cells, weak from captivity but alive. When the Queen healed them with her new abilities, her mate stared at her in wonder. "You have changed, beloved," he said. "I can feel new strength in you." "I learned from a human what it truly means to protect those we love," Zara replied, looking at Ben. "Sometimes preservation requires action, not just endurance." The rescued Villani family became the symbol of hope that spread across the galaxy. News broadcasts showed Queen Zara reunited with her children, but also showed her working alongside human forces to liberate other worlds. The Galactic Federation was amazed by this development. The Villani, who had been neutral pacifists for millennia, were now the most effective force against the Keth Empire. But they fought in a way that honored life rather than destroying it. Ben found himself appointed as the first human ambassador to the Villani worlds. His bond with Queen Zara made him uniquely qualified to help coordinate between human military forces and Villani healing abilities. The partnership proved incredibly effective. Human soldiers would engage Keth forces directly while Villani healers worked to disable enemy equipment and treat wounded from both sides. The combination of human courage and Villani compassion created a new model for how wars could be fought. The Keth Empire surrendered completely within 6 months. But the surrender came not from military defeat, but from transformation. Thousands of Keth soldiers had been healed and shown kindness by Villani forces. They returned to their home worlds carrying stories of beings who fought without hatred and protected their enemies from harm. The Keth leadership, faced with mass rebellion from their own people who demanded peace, had no choice but to end the war. At the formal surrender ceremony, held on the Villani home world, Ben stood beside Queen Zara as she addressed representatives from hundreds of worlds. "This war has taught us that protecting life sometimes requires more than passive resistance," she said. "But it has also taught us that fighting without hatred is not only possible, but more effective than conquest through fear." She gestured to Ben. "A human pilot showed my people what true courage looks like. Not the absence of fear, but the willingness to sacrifice everything for those who cannot protect themselves. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy, the knowledge that some things are worth dying for, and some beings are worth saving no matter the cost." After the ceremony, Ben and Zara walked through the crystal gardens of the Villani capital. The bond between them had grown stronger over the months, though it remained purely one of friendship and mutual respect. "Do you regret it?" Zara asked. "Giving up your life force to save a stranger?" Ben thought about everything that had happened since that moment in the Crystal Palace. The war was over, millions of lives had been saved, and 2 species had formed an alliance that would reshape the galaxy. "I almost died," he said finally. "But I lived for something greater than myself. I think that is what humans call a good trade." Zara smiled. "My people are building monuments to commemorate this war. Not monuments to victory or conquest, but monuments to sacrifice and compassion. The largest will be a statue of you, with an inscription that reads, 'He gave everything for strangers, and taught us that this is what heroes do.'" "I am not a hero," Ben protested. "You are wrong, my friend. You are the greatest kind of hero. The kind who never realizes how extraordinary they are." As they walked through the gardens, other beings approached them. Keth refugees seeking healing, Villani children wanting to meet the human who had saved their queen, Federation officers requesting advice on peaceful conflict resolution. Each person represented lives saved, futures protected, children who would grow up in a galaxy where war was fought with compassion rather than hatred. Ben realized that his decision in the crystal chamber had not just saved Queen Zara. It had saved the idea that beings could fight for protection rather than conquest, that courage could be combined with kindness, and that the greatest victories were won not by destroying enemies but by transforming them into friends. The galaxy had learned something new about humanity that day. Not that humans were great warriors or brilliant tacticians, though they were both. They had learned that humans possessed something even more valuable, the instinct to sacrifice themselves for others, even for complete strangers, even when the odds of success were nearly zero. And in making that sacrifice, Ben Torres had given the galaxy something it had never possessed before, proof that heroism was not about winning battles, but about the willingness to lose everything for the sake of others. The stars seemed brighter as Ben and Zara continued their walk, surrounded by beings from dozens of worlds who were alive because one human pilot had decided that some things were worth dying for.